Welcome back and thank you for joining us. And now let's move to our discussion segment. And this morning we'll be diving into a story that has grabbed global attention. Nigeria-US tensions, analysis on China and Ecowas involvement. Now, over the past week, relations between Nigeria and the United States have become increasingly strained. President Trump's accusations of genocide and threats of military intervention, alongside the suspension of aid, have drawn sharp criticism here at home. Nigerian Senate has dismissed the claims as false and politically motivated, while the Ministry of Foreign Affairs reaffirmed the government's commitment to human rights and the rule of law. On the international stage, Ecowas has joined Nigeria in rejecting these allegations, emphasizing that terrorism, not religious persecution, is the real threat. Now, meanwhile, China has voiced strong support for Nigerian sovereignty, warning against using human rights or religion as a pretext for foreign interference. Now, to help us unpack these developments, we have with us Nurudeen Aliyu Hammanyero, a respected public affairs analyst. He will provide insight into the implications of the statements, the roles of Ecowas and China, and what this tense situation means for Nigerians' diplomatic and strategic standing. Stay tuned as we break down the issues and explore how Nigeria navigates this complex web of international relations. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning, Mr. Hammanyero. Good to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
All right, let's jump right in before we take a look at the stand from China and ECOWAS. I would love to hear from you concerning, the U.S. allegation of a Christian genocide in Nigeria, and it has caused a lot of, quite a stir in the country. Now, from your perspective, what's the truth behind these claims?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all with the accusation by the Trump administration on Nigeria, because at the moment, if you want to look at this, you first of all look at how America is faring up with international community. Trump at the moment is a man who has shut down his country for 36 days. He has just broken record of the highest number of shutdowns from 2018 to 2019, which he was as well the president of the country. He held it on shutdown for 35 days. Now he has broken the record. As of this morning, he is now on a 36 days from 1st October. Meaning the country he is administering already is having problem on administration. Even to pay salaries of their defense now is hanging. It is until Friday. The American government is mobilizing funds between the legislative and the defense fund to make sure soldiers are paid salary. So now, if you look at this as basis of who Trump is as a person, presiding over the most powerful economy in the world, the biggest military force in the world, the richest country in the call them by whatever name you want to call them, and he is behaving this way. So are we surprised that he is also recognizing Nigeria as a country of particular concern? No, I'm not surprised. But again, I want to look at it that if you take away Trump from this equation, just put any other person, there has been a requirement approved based on the UN Charter of the International Religious Freedom Act, which the U.S. leveraged on to set up their own U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom in 2003 by Bill Clinton. Now, this commission has adopted the criteria set by the UN that you have to base before you recognize a country of particular concern. Now, ask yourself, in Nigeria, these things are four categories, four criteria. Have we met any one of the criteria? Severe torture, or imprisonment, or extrajudicial killing. Have we done any of such in this country? Not that I can remember, and I don't think any one of you here, to the best of my knowledge, from 1999, when we came back to democracy for the fourth time, The only time I can remember judicial killing was, if you can as well remember, it was during the time of Yusuf, the guy that was the brain box behind Boko Haram. When he was killed, there was cause of some Almajiris that were arrested by police and sprayed bullet on the middle of Maiduguri. Now, that the media classified it as extrajudicial killing, but they were Muslims. Now, the second criteria is, restricted, systemic restriction of religious practice. To the best of my knowledge, there is no local government, no community, no state that today we have had in any way, be it on the social media, that you cannot restrict people, that these people have been denied worship, let alone by the government. Now, the third criteria, we have government deliberate sponsorship of persecution of people because of their faith. I don't think we have done that in this country. Now, lastly, deliberate policies by the government to deny some individuals their right as a result of their religious practice. These are 4 criteria outlined by the United Nations based on that act that you can use to identify a country and call it a country of particular concern. So if you ask yourself, what is the confusion from America that today the Nigerian government is classified as a country of particular concern? I am personally confused because it makes no sense. It is unfounded. But again, my own little analysis, if you look at successively in this government, there are things that this government has achieved and has realigned with other countries that ordinarily, if you are America, it is a call for concern. This same government has shifted its relationship and have identified with the BRICS nations. It started in 2024. In fact, we even went late because BRICS wanted President Buhari to join, but he did not. President Bola Tinubu came in 2024 during their summit in Russia. They indicated interest, and by January this year, Nigeria has joined BRICS. America doesn't want, we know what BRICS stands for. At the center of BRICS is to dismantle the petrodollar era, because it's holding everybody on their neck, and to give a fair, regulation to all countries, irrespective of trade and whatever. A good relationship. America does not want that. Their superpower is choking. Now, Nigeria has joined. This is a misrealignment with the American government. Now, secondly, Trump administration wanted Nigeria to accept deportees. We refused. Ghana accepted it based on the Ecowas condition that, okay, except if you are carrying the Ecowas passport, they will take you because there's a free movement without visa. But Nigeria refused. We are a country of 300 million people. You cannot push us to be doing things like, if you don't see us as a country that you should promote because of our market by nature, then you shouldn't be bullying us. Now, I like the stand of the president. Now, the third one that you should look at is what we have displayed at UNGA. For the first time in our history that we went there, we first of all took a position with most of the countries of the world, which is a position of humanity, saying, look, we don't want your active participation in the genocide taking place in Gaza, your continuous funding of Israel, your indiscriminate, consideration of whatever Israel is doing, you are the backbone. We are not in support of that. Rather, we are in support of what is humanly accepted, and that's the two-state solution. That is the Nigerian stand at the United Nations. America doesn't want that. Now, lastly, if you look at the American hunger of recent with the tension between them and Russia and China because of the rare earth minerals. All these are fallout. The world is shifting beneath, the feet of the American government.
So now, do you think that it is a deliberate instigation of this?
Absolutely, it is. But now, when you look at all these factors, I'm not just concluding. My conclusion is coming from the lack of patriotism in Nigeria. When a Nigerian will just wake up and begin to promote, we have very little sense of patriotism. You see people, on the social media, or how can you go to the United States, for example? I don't know how they made it, but how can you go and report these killings? You don't have facts. Because if you use common sense, you can use common sense on this. We have a 36 states nation plus FCT. Most of the places these killings are taking place in the northeast and in the northwest. And in the north central, partly. In the north central between the axis of Benue, Nasarawa, and Plateau. Now, in Plateau State, we have, it has been for more than 20 years now. But if you look at the idea behind the entire clash in Plateau State wasn't religion. Religion was just a cover, to give, when they say give a dog a bad name to hang it. It has been communal. But they escalated it, made it religion, and it has been going on for a while now. And in fact, it has become a business. Now, if you look at the same thing happening in Benue State, it's about land, it's not about religion. In fact, of recent, the last attack that claimed the life of about 60 people, Hyacinth Alia, the governor of Benue State, made a statement before he later, withdrew. He said the Benue people should stop killing their people. So is it about religion? Is it Muslim TVs or Benue people that are killing Christians in Benue State? So the same thing in Nasarawa State. We all know this thing have that. Now, if you look at the northeast, where Boko Haram has been going on, we've had it from distinguished Senator Ali Ndume, who gave a very good analysis of his people and even put it on a ratio. For example, if you kill somebody in the Christian-dominated area like Chibok in Maiduguri, of course, you are expecting higher number of Christians. But most of the communities, Borno, percentage of Christians to Muslims is about 80 to 20. So it means on a general note, for every 10 deaths you record, you are looking at 8 Muslims and 2 Christians. Now, if you continue with these statistics, if I go to the northwest where banditry and then kidnapping and cattle rustling is going on, and sometimes comes with death, if you look at it, most of these states are even, let me use the words of Senator Sani Shinkafi, who said collectively, on that axis, the percentage of Christians in the northwest, particularly in the 3 states we are talking about, is not up to 3%. So where does the genocide come from? So completely, if you look at it, I think the United States government is trying to, for whatever reason, to bully Nigeria. Is it because of their interest in the Rear Admiral? Because, let me tell you, on record, now, the Rear Admiral we are talking about, that they are trying to force China to come to the table and give them to their demand, and Chinese government refused. We have 4 states in Nigeria that have abundant deposit of rare earth. I'm coming, let me land on this.
Right.
We have Plateau State. We have Benue State. We have Nasarawa State. These are the 3 states in the northern Nigeria that have abundant rare earth mineral. Then we have one in Cross River State, the only state in the south. So is it that they have interest in these 3 states and they want to use, the idea of Christian persecution, come in, settle, and begin to take the Rear Admiral? You can do that diplomatically, enjoy, and Nigeria too will enjoy. We understand how the world is being played.
All right, you just made mention of China, and Nigerians would want to know what is China's, broader relationship with Nigeria, especially when it comes to trade, investment, infrastructure, and with these allegations and, a chance of an invasion by the United States, how might this affect China's willingness to engage publicly on human rights and, security controversies in Nigeria? And we know, for instance, China and Nigeria signed a comprehensive strategic partnership in September 2024. So where do you think China stands?
They stand a better chance because, first of all, we are now members in the BRICS, where China is a parent member. Then Nigeria has just recently joined, trying to build up. Now, it means we have a common ground for bilateral relationship. Now, secondly, the Chinese government, to an extent, in terms of economy with other developing nations, they are more liberal. And if you look at, yes, they have their own issues because they have also been designated. In fact, I think Chinese government is the most designated country when it comes to country of particular concern. Because if you remember what is happening in the Uyghur community in China, where Muslims are denied even, in fact, in China, they made those requirements because they restrict them from practicing the religion. And in some cases, you can't even display, let's say, for example, in your shop, you can't put Memuna's restaurant and put halal on it, for example, if you're a Muslim, because the Chinese government feel this is an invasion of their culture and they want to do anything to protect it. So they do all these things, and that is why if you go today, there is a very thick line dividing the Muslim community in China and the other Chinese citizens. Now, like I said, they have a liberal system as far as economy is concerned. And we have seen what they have been playing with the African nations, how they give them room for development. They make things cheaper for them. Yes, even that if you want to look at it critically, to some extent, it will strangle them with time, because when you are open to take in more loans, one day you get yourself boxed up, just like what we have in, is it Tanzania, or which country that have collected so much loan from China, and Chinese government is looking at taking over most of their critical assets. Now, yes, for a country that is reckless and borrows beyond what they can even manage, it leads to that. But in Nigeria, we have a fair ground, because if you look at population, we play a very vital role because of our population. The Chinese government knows they have a lot to benefit, and we also have a lot to benefit from them. And they know what Nigeria stands for in the League of Nations in Africa, which be it at the regional bloc or continental bloc. So they know our role, and they wouldn't want to take it for granted. And so far, I think we have gained more in terms of our relationship. Because if you ask me, what have we gained with America? Is it particularly in this Trump administration, is it the withdrawal of the USAID, accusing USAID in Nigeria for funding terrorism? It has been withdrawn. So the strategic relationship we signed on solid mineral funding have not been supported since they signed it till date. So we have not really benefited much, particularly with this Trump administration, but we have done that with China. So to me, I think the anger in the United States on this realignment and misalignment we are having with them and with China is what is bringing about all these things. But we have a role to play, because we are a nation, and a nation that should be considered at all levels. But what have we been doing? We are now going to the third year. In fact, this is the third year of this administration. We don't have ambassadors. Now, assuming this issue comes up, and we have an ambassador in the United States who will, first of all, utilize that corridor, engage properly, provide this data, support it with every form of evidence, disabuse the mind of the American government on what they are building up to bring about division. Perhaps we wouldn't have been talking about this thing now. It would have been managed very well. But that window is open.
So looking at, the international interference that is China and Ecowas in this particular matter, because China is saying it's an internal issue. Nigerians should be left to tackle their internal issue to start with. So would you say that this shows a growing confidence in the Tinubu's administration handling of national
Absolutely,
issues?
because it must always favor one and disfavor the other. And the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom is in the US, but the International Religious Freedom Act is of the United Nations. So it means in our own country, our constitution already is embedded already supports that freedom of worship. And we have not denied anybody to the best of our ability. Yes, we are not in dispute that there are crises, for crying out loud. We are not. But we have been doing our best to manage them. And the president is expected to do more. In fact, if there is anything that should be credited to this government, I have seen it, I don't know how realistic, Murik have made it's not an allegation, it's just made a statement that 62% of Tinubu's appointment is to Christians. His wife is a Christian in the same house. His son is a Christian in the same house. So if there is anything they should even celebrate this president with, I think it's his ability to, tolerate everybody. Yeah. So America will never be at peace because of all these things that have happened. And particularly, we don't have a good relationship. Every president has the right, the decision to choose the country to work with. For example, we have seen President Muhammadu Buhari of late memory. His relationship, his ties with the UK is, you can't even explain it. Anything Buhari wants to do is UK. And this same Trump's government in 2020, at the Oval Office, he confronted President Muhammadu Buhari, accused him of killing Christians in Nigeria. What happened that Christians have been killed? He told him, it's not religious, it's not a religious crisis. It's not. It is a communal crisis. Sometimes farmers and herders, but completely it has nothing to do with religion.
Are you saying that the United States has been trying to push this narrative upon Nigeria for a while now, and it just became more public and more, should I say, stressful on Nigeria at this point?
Absolutely, because, particularly we know there has always been a clear distinction between the Democrats and the Republicans when it comes to foreign policies. And we know the aggression.
China has urged the international community to respect Nigeria's sovereignty following a U.S. threat of military action. Beijing reaffirmed support for President Bola Tinubu's government, praising Nigeria's effort to follow a development path suited to its realities. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning, at a press briefing in Beijing, warned against using religion or human rights as excuses for interference, sanctions,
on the accusation of the possession of WMD, a weapon of mass destruction, by Iraq. Now, eventually, Iraq was invaded, their economy was destroyed, Saddam Hussein was killed. How many years later? 13 years later. While they were trying to do that, I can remember vividly, Jacques Chirac, who was the president of France, clearly called the attention of the US government not to advance with this particular reason. They should subject it to allow the UN to determine whether Iraq has WMDs or not. But because it is clear that they are aggressive with their international relationships, they went ahead, invaded Iraq, killed Saddam Hussein. 13 years later, yes, the British supported them then. 13 years later, we all saw what Tony Blair said. They acted based on scanty intelligence information, and he's sorry. Now, they did the same thing how many years later again to Libya? On a mere misunderstanding that ordinarily even the AU can manage, but we know conspiracy theories flies everywhere. We know what Gaddafi stands for. We know what he has done for the African continent. How much money he has spent to stabilize Africa as a continent, not even North Africa as a sub-region. How he has developed Libya, as at the time he dies, was the best economy in Africa. But they killed him, they destroyed Libya. Today, Libya is nowhere. And the same thing now with what is happening on this Gaza thing. 167 countries have advised and supported a two-state solution. At the center of it again is Trump, because he identified Israel first of all. While this resolution is going on, he identified them as a country in his first term, that this is a country. And that escalated the issue and resulted to all this killing. And he has been supporting Israel in this crime. And now all he's talking about is there is a peace, but Gazans have nowhere to go back to after the peace. So I think it's a deliberate thing.
Yeah, speaking about how vital and important information is, that is the right information when it comes to tackling these issues, what mechanism exists, domestically in Nigeria, regionally via Ecowas, and internationally via the United Nations to investigate allegations of genocide or large-scale targeted violence? And are they being used, or can they be used effectively in this case?
if I get you very well, is there genocide first of all before we investigate? Because it's when there's an issue before you investigate it. Christians have come out. I believe you
have to investigate for you to verify.
Yeah, for example, now if you look at it, we have Christian leaders who outrightly call this thing not a genocide. Somebody like Bishop Matthew Kuka. Now, assuming there is a genocide, let's even accept it that there is a genocide. On the coup allegation that about 16 officers were arrested and now investigated, there is somebody on the social media, particularly in the TikTok, that supported it. He was traced and arrested by the DSS. This is how effective, if we want to be effective, our security architecture can be. You understand? So it means if there is a case of genocide, the Nigerian government now, let me tell you something. Look after yourself, then any other person will see you and say, I cannot relegate this person. I cannot abuse him because he loves himself. He is looking after himself. And I also have to maintain it this way for him. Now, the Nigerian government, if we truly want to be respected, if Mr. A is accused of, let's say, providing arms to bandits or to Boko Haram, because we have cases of this that are hanging all over the country. Individuals identified with Boko Haram or IPOP or most of the clashes we are having in every corner. Bring out these individuals, publish them in the world that this is Mr. A. He was arrested, investigated, and proven guilty that he has been doing this. We like to be sweeping our dirty things under the carpet and assume nobody knows. Everybody knows. The world now is a global village. So we should stop hiding criminals and want, the international community to glorify us for doing that. So if we want to be respected, anybody that is found not doing what is right in this country, be it at governmental affairs, that means if you have people who are siphoning public funds, deal with them, and we should be the first people that will sanction these people, withdraw their passport and deny them, opportunities to travel outside and enjoy good citizenship, as against what we are doing. Because if we don't do it, somebody else is doing it outside, and that is what America is doing. Because they want to paint Nigeria black, or call it, like we said, a dog to hang it. They've started, first of all, by withdrawing passport. How on earth can you withdraw the passport of somebody like Wole Soyinka? Baseless, no reason. But because they really wanted to deal with Nigeria. But certainly I know that would not fly, because I have seen the energy, in Nigerians this time around, including people like Omoyole Sowore, who said, we want a deliverance, but certainly it shouldn't come from America. And it stays there, so it's
all right, Mr. Hammanyero, time is against us. Thank you so much for making it this morning and, helping us unpack these developments.
My last point, if you may allow me, just 1 second. I think at the end of Trump administration, maybe Nigeria and other African countries should come together and tell the UN or sponsor a bill that Trump should as well be labeled a person of particular concern, because that is what he deserves.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Nurudeen Aliyu Hammanyero, respected public affairs analyst, for speaking with us this morning and helping us to unpack the topic at hand. So we have come to the end of our discussion segment. We'll take a short breather now, and when we come back, we'll be diving into a newspaper review where we'll get to review the front pages of our national dailies. To stay with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.